What's up, everybody? This is Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA A+ 1201 certification exam. So let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about cloud computing. Now, unless you've been living completely off the grid, you probably heard the term cloud tossed around a million times. Maybe it was in a commercial, a job posting, or your phone backing up photos to the cloud. But what does that actually mean? And more importantly, why should you care? Well, if you're studying for the CompTIA A+ 1201 exam or just trying to get a solid footing in modern IT, then understanding cloud computing is an absolute must. So with that being said, let's get into it. Exactly what is cloud computing? So imagine you're running an application or storing files, but instead of doing it all on your personal computer, you're using someone else's computer over the internet. That's the cloud in a nutshell. So cloud computing, this lets you access computing power, storage, and applications through the internet. You don't need to buy all the hardware or install complex software on your own machine. Someone else, which is called a cloud provider like Amazon or Google, they take care of all of that and you just use what you need. All right, so let's talk about the 4 common cloud deployment models. So when people talk about the cloud, they're not always referring to the same kind of setup. There are actually different types of clouds, and these are called deployment models. So let's break them down. The first one is called the private cloud. So a private cloud, this is dedicated to a single organization. So think of it as your own private gym. Only your company gets to use the equipment and it's tailored to your specific needs. Now, the pros of a private cloud are it offers better control over data and security. It's customizable to fit business needs, and it's often used by large enterprises or government agencies. The cons, it can be expensive to build and maintain, and it requires in-house expertise. Now, this setup is common in highly regulated industries like finance or healthcare, where control and compliance are top priorities. Next, we have what is called the public cloud, and this is the most common model. So services like Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud Platform, they fall into this category. So with a public cloud, multiple customers or tenants, they share the same infrastructure. This is like using a public gym. You still get to work out, but you're sharing the space and equipment with others. Now, the pros are it's affordable, it's scalable and flexible, and there is no need to manage physical hardware. The cons, you have less control over security, and performance can vary due to shared resources. So if you've ever stored files on Google Drive or streamed Netflix, then congratulations, you've used the public cloud. Next is a hybrid cloud. Now, hybrid is exactly what it sounds like. This is a combination of public and private cloud, and that means that you can move workloads between the two as needed. An example of this would be a hospital that keeps sensitive patient data in a private cloud, but uses the public cloud for less sensitive operations like staff scheduling. And the pros are it's more flexible, it's cost effective for certain workloads, and it allows what is called bursting into the public cloud during high demand. The cons is complex to manage and it requires strong network integration. So think of hybrid like having a home gym and a membership to Planet Fitness. You essentially get the best of both worlds. And then we have what is called a community cloud. Now, this one's less common, but it's still important. A community cloud is shared by multiple organizations with common goals or compliance needs. So for instance, several universities, they might share a cloud for research collaboration. The pros, it has a shared cost amongst the organizations. It offers collaborative use of resources, and it can be more secure than a public cloud. The cons, you have less control than a private cloud, and this requires coordination amongst its members. And so basically, it's kind of like a co-op workspace where everybody chips in and everybody benefits. Now that we've covered deployment models, let's talk about service models. And this is how the cloud delivers its magic. And there are 3 main types that you need to know for your exam. The first one is called infrastructure as a service. And this is the most basic level of cloud service. With infrastructure as a service, you're essentially renting IT infrastructure, like your servers, storage, and networking. And you're renting all of this from a cloud provider. And when it comes to you, you only manage the operating system, the applications, and the data. The provider manages all the physical stuff. And examples of this would be Amazon EC2, Microsoft Azure virtual machines, and Google Compute Engine. So it's like leasing an apartment where you bring your own furniture, i.e. the operating system and the applications, but the building, i.e. the servers and the racks, they're all maintained by somebody else. And then there's software as a service. And this is the most user friendly model. With software as a service, you simply log in and use the software. You don't worry about installation, updates of servers. The provider handles all of that. Examples of this would be Google Gmail, Microsoft 365, Dropbox, and Zoom. So it's like checking into a hotel where everything's ready when you arrive. You just use it and leave the maintenance to the staff. And then there is platform as a service. Now, this sits between infrastructure as a service and software as a service. It provides you with the tools and environment to develop, test, and deploy applications without worrying about managing the underlying hardware or operating system. And examples of this will be Google App Engine and Microsoft Azure App Service. So it's like using a furnished apartment, meaning you don't own the building, but you have everything you need to live comfortably and customize your space a little. Now, if you're lost and confused, here is a graphic explaining the differences between legacy enterprise, or basically on-premise IT infrastructure, versus infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And basically everything that is in blue is the stuff that you are in charge of, and everything that is grayed out is the stuff that the provider is in charge of. And if you're still lost or confused, well, here is pizza as a service. So you have traditional on-premises, and this is you making a pizza from scratch at home. You got infrastructure as a service. This is the equivalent of you going to the grocery store, picking up a frozen pizza, taking it home and baking it. There's platform as a service. This is the equivalent of you ordering pizza from Domino's or Pizza Hut. And then there's software as a service. This is the equivalent of you going to a restaurant and ordering a pizza and eating it at the restaurant. All right, so now you understand the types of clouds and services, but what makes cloud computing exactly cloud computing? Well, let's talk about the features that define it. And the first one we're going to talk about is shared resources versus dedicated resources. So in cloud environments, resources like servers, storage, and network bandwidth are usually shared across multiple users, and this is called multi-tenancy. It's more efficient and cost effective. However, for high performance or high security needs, some organizations may opt for dedicated resources. This means they're not sharing with anybody else. And this is like having a private server or a storage pool. So think of it like this: shared resources, this is like a carpool. Dedicated resources, this is your own personal car. And then you have what is called metered utilization. And this is a big one because cloud services are typically pay as you go, meaning you're charged based upon what you use. It's like your electric bill, meaning the more you use, the more money that you're going to pay. And there are two key components here. You got what is called ingress, and this is data that's coming into the cloud. You have what is called egress. This is data that's going out of the cloud. And some providers, they charge more for egress traffic. So it's something that IT professionals need to watch closely. Then you have what's called elasticity. So elasticity, this means cloud systems can automatically scale up or down based upon demand. So if you get a sudden traffic spike on your e-commerce site, then the cloud can allocate more servers to handle it. And when the traffic drops, it can scale back down to save you money. And this flexibility is a game changer compared to traditional servers that are either over-provisioned, meaning they're wasting money, or they're underpowered, meaning they're slowing down under pressure. The next characteristic is availability. So cloud services are designed to be available 24/7, and providers, they often promise a certain level of uptime, like 99.9% or higher. And they do this to ensure redundant systems, multiple data centers, and automatic failover. So if one server goes down, then your service continues without a hiccup. And that's a massive upgrade from traditional IT setups. And then there's file synchronization. So have you ever saved the file on your laptop and you see it instantly on your phone? Well, that's file synchronization, which is an essential cloud feature. And services like OneDrive, Google Drive, and iCloud, they keep your data in sync across all devices. And this boosts productivity and makes collaboration easy. So you could update a presentation on your tablet and it'll be ready on your desktop by the time you get to your office. And then we have multi-tenancy, and this means multiple customers or tenants who share the same resources, but their data is kept separate and secure. So think of a high-rise apartment building. Everyone shares the same structure or the hardware or networking, but each apartment, i.e. your data, is private. And so multi-tenancy, this is basically what makes software as a service and public cloud models so scalable and cost efficient. All right, so let's quickly talk about why cloud skills matter. So if you're aiming for a career in IT, especially in support, networking, or security, then cloud computing is no longer a nice to know. It's a you have to know this. So many organizations, they now use cloud-based tools for things like email, like Microsoft 365 or Gmail. They use it for file storage when dealing with OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox. They use it for virtual machines and development environments. And they use it for remote collaboration tools like Zoom and Teams. And guess who configures, supports, and troubleshoots all of that stuff? You do. And the CompTIA A+ exam, it reflects this shift because they want you to understand not just the hardware and operating system basics, but how IT works in a cloud-powered world. Now, let me go ahead and connect all the dots. So you've likely interacted with cloud technology in more ways than you realize. If you've ever streamed Netflix, well, guess what? That's the cloud. If you ever use Google Docs to write a paper, that's the cloud. If you ever backed up your iPhone to iCloud, well, guess what? That's the cloud. If you ever uploaded a video to YouTube, well, guess what? That's cloud storage and delivery. And if you're in IT, then your job may involve helping a small business switch from a local email server to Microsoft 365 or managing cloud storage for a remote team. And that stuff is real. It's happening. And guess what? That is your future. All right. So let me go ahead and wrap all this up. Cloud computing, this can feel like an abstract concept at first because you're not plugging in the cable or booting up a physical server. You're just trusting a bunch of data centers that are miles away to just work. But here's the thing. Once you understand the models when it comes to public, private, hybrid, and community clouds, the services like infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service, and the key characteristics like elasticity, metered usage, availability, etc., all of this starts to click. And then you realize cloud computing isn't replacing IT jobs, it's simply evolving them because the cloud still needs skilled professionals to set up accounts, manage security, support users, monitor performance, and migrate services. So if you're studying for the CompTIA A+ exam, then keep on going because the cloud might seem fluffy, but your career in IT is about to get solid. And with that being said, let's do some check on learning. So our first question is, which of the following best describes the software as a service cloud model? Is it a model where you rent virtual machines and manage your own operating system and applications? Is it a model where you develop and deploy applications without managing the underlying infrastructure? Is it a model where computing resources are hosted on private servers that are only accessible by one organization? Or is it a model where you access applications over the internet without managing the underlying software or hardware? And the correct answer is this is a model where you access applications over the internet without managing the underlying software or hardware. So software as a service, this provides fully functional applications over the internet. The user doesn't need to install, manage, or update anything. The provider takes care of everything. And some common examples include Gmail, Microsoft 365, and Zoom. Next question. What does elasticity in cloud computing refer to? Is this the ability to physically stretch a server rack? Is this the ability to scale computing resources up or down based on demand? Is this the ability to isolate customer data in multi-tenant environments? Or is this the capability of syncing files across mobile and desktop devices? And the correct answer is this is the ability to scale computing resources up or down based on demand. So elasticity, this is a cloud computing characteristic that allows systems to automatically adjust resource levels when it comes to CPU, memory, and storage based on real-time demand. And this helps optimize performance and cost efficiency without manual intervention. And our final question is, which cloud deployment model is shared by several organizations with similar needs or compliance requirements? Is this a public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, or a community cloud? And the correct answer is this is a community cloud. So a community cloud, this is a type of cloud infrastructure shared by multiple organizations with similar goals or compliance requirements like universities that are collaborating on research. It provides shared access to data and services while maintaining some privacy and customization.